My name is Katie Fulford Smith. I work in the engagement team here at Big Society Capital, and my role specifically focuses on investor engagement and a little bit around financial services. And that is where Big Society Capital are making investments, and we're hoping to bring other investors along that journey and commit capital alongside us. So Big Society Capital is an independent financial institution, and we were set up to help improve people's lives in the UK through the use of social impact investment. So we were established with capital from both the UK dormant bank accounts and from 4 high street banks who are our shareholders. And we use our money to predominantly invest in funds that have a direct impact on people's lives. So I believe the event was the first ever dedicated event for pension funds talking about impact investment, which is clearly an area that we are very passionate about and is everything that we do. And so we thought that was a really great platform to help showcase where we have made some of our investments and to help educate pension funds about the opportunities that are out there within the impact space. I think it was the dedicated focus, both from an impact perspective and with the pension funds, and the ability that DG Publishing have to sort of curate that type of event and really pull in the relevant people within the industry. And so it was an event that was packed full of relevant investors, but also experts from across the impact investing field, which I think was really important to us. Well, I think fundamentally everything that you invest in has an impact. And so you have a decision to make, or you can explore whether that has a positive impact or a negative impact. And I think increasingly pension funds are being, held under the spotlight to invest along sort of ESG factors, so the environmental, social governance factors. And I think impact is kind of the next step along that spectrum. And that's using the money within those mandates to do really positive things for society. So I think there's increasing demand from the beneficiaries of those pension funds. People increasingly care about where they buy from, but importantly, increasingly care about where their money is being invested and their contribution to the world. And so I think as fiduciaries, pension fund managers actually have a duty not only to deliver financial returns but also to deliver a positive impact over the long term. So I think there are loads of really compelling reasons as to why pension fund managers should care about this space. And they are increasingly, I think, caring about this space, and I think it's just about helping guide them along that path and help educate them about areas that realistically they can invest in that are of significant scale for the type of capital that they have. So I think there's still a few misconceptions. Firstly, I think that it's a separate asset class, and so it sort of seems something that is a little bit alien, and it's something that other people do. So I think helping normalise that and actually appreciate that you can have impact within your existing portfolios is really important. I think there's still a sort of fundamental misconception about returns and the risk. And of course there will be some elements of impact investing, just like any investment that isn't suitable for certain investors. But there's actually a huge amount of investments that you can make that have a positive contribution to the world and indeed an impact that also deliver positive financial returns in line with other market rate returns. So I think those are two of the big ones, is just sort of understanding and increasingly around the kind of returns and the opportunities that are there. So I think a really good example of an impact investment that Big Society Capital have made has been into Resonance's Real Lettings Property Fund, and that's a property fund that helps provide move-on accommodation for people in or at risk of homelessness. And that's a really powerful example because they have partnered with homelessness charity St Mungo's, so they're providing additional support alongside fundamentally providing accommodation. So it's really helping improve people's lives and outcomes over the long term. And that fund has won a number of awards, and residents have gone on to raise a second fund, which actually didn't need BSC's capital to raise that fund, and that's a really good example of where we play a role in catalysing cornerstoning funds, perhaps first-time funds, and then seeing those managers go on to raise future funds that don't necessarily need our capital to play a role in them. So I think that's a really good example. So I think a big part of our role, and certainly a big part of my role, is raising awareness and the education piece. So helping educate pension fund managers about the breadth of opportunities that are out there. So I think, as I've already said, sometimes there's a misconception that there just isn't the appropriate investments from a returns perspective. Potentially scale as well. So institutional investors, and particularly pension funds, tend to have significant pools of capital, and I think often there's a misconception that all impact funds are kind of subscale, which, as we've seen recently in some of the commitments that we've made, such as CBRE's Affordable Housing Fund that we closed at the end of last year. These are large-scale funds which actually pension funds can access and invest in and still receive market rate returns in line with other, perhaps, property investments within their portfolio. So I think it's helping raise awareness. I think it's also around impact integrity. So BSC play a really big role in cornerstoning funds, and certainly the fund managers that we've worked with see as a sort of a valuable investor in helping bring and attract other investors alongside us. A couple of years ago we did a stakeholder survey, and interestingly 50% of the investors that have invested alongside BSC said that our commitment into those funds was a key part in them deciding to invest. And I think a lot of that comes to the impact integrity and the fact that as an organisation we have so much expertise as the largest sort of dedicated manager to impact in the UK. And I would say just come along. It's clearly an area that is growing in kind of popularity, both from a kind of work perspective, but also actually just in people's lives. People are increasingly talking about being sustainable, making sustainable decisions, and I think the separation of what one does on a day-to-day basis when they're in the office to what they do at home, it feels like those actually can really come together, and I think it's about empowering people to see that there are some really great things that they can do with others, within the industry to make a difference.